We back? Are we almost back? We're back. Ooh, that's close. All right, if we get some people to join back in, I'm going to run through all of the stocks that we do normally cover at the end here. And this thing's just going up and up and up and up. Yeah, we're going to run through all the stocks once we get people. Sorry, it crashed. My thing crashed for a sec, but we're going to run through all the stocks that we do cover at the end in the next few minutes. Any view on gold? We can take a look at gold. I just know that it's surged real heavy, right? So it's surged real heavy, and let's go to daily real quick. And what I just noticed that most people weren't really talking about is this flatness of the MACD, flatness of the RSI. Right when everyone was talking about this day was that big pump. Long gold 1975, 20, 30 possible. I mean, it's possible you could see another extension of this move because we're in that positive territory. You get another point of divergence if you want to see it go a little bit higher. But overall, and this is GLD, so it's not the exact ticker that you're paying attention to. But overall, just pay attention because when everyone was talking about this day, all I noticed was that there's, divergence, flatness of the MACD and RSI at the same time, which when they're flat at the same time, it could just be some kind of pullback to head higher. But if it was like a little bit more steep at the same time, then I would say, okay, gold might be crashing down. So at this point, though, on the daily, you're in that positive territory and you're seeing a strong move as of today, taking back that, this 9-day moving average. So you do have that chance to come test this high, even go a little above it and create some kind of pathway here. See if you can come all the way up into this area. Most of the time, I think it is in like recession and things like that. I'm pretty sure even gold goes down, right? So we need to pay attention to gold coming down in recession. Which we can go back to like say 20. Oh man, old drawings on this. You can go to like a weekly and see. Let's see, where's 2020? You can go to March. So if you ever want to do things like this, okay. So it looks like when March came, we actually saw that surge throughout. So let's look at a weekly here. You got that cross down here. Overall, if you do see this start to extend, what we would just pay attention to is a weekly divergence. It's a good sign that this is actually going to crash down. Weekly divergence is very, very strong. Everyone was looking to short gold today? I wouldn't have shorted gold today. Why would you short gold today? Gold today is holding up at my support line that I drew from like years back. Look at that. It's like literally holding at that support line. That's pretty funny. This is back when I used to pay attention to gold very extensively. I just moved on. I do tech stocks for the most part, but if you're going to be shorting this, this is probably your trigger to short, right? Like it comes out of the Bollinger Band. You have divergence forming. It actually confirms right here. You could short for a day or two, but you have the 50 and the 200 right here, and we haven't lost those. So shorting at this area is, I will say, an interesting choice. Sorry about that. Dogs were barking. The other one we don't really cover is IWM. IWM's really been skyrocketing. hit my price target. Boom. Actually exceeded it, but IWM can drop dramatically. We can come and fill this gap before we see more upside. So just be careful, because this is all priced in, and we're going higher when it's already priced in. Little bit of a funky time. But you can see how powerful this is when we're on the MACD, not able to roll over and remain in that positive territory. Pretty impressive. Okay. Got some people. Should we run through a few of these? Let's run through. Let's start with TLT. And TLT on the hourly, we're going to run through some hourlies just to show the technical side of things. If this does roll over, you will see that divergence. And if it does roll, you're going to be very close to negative territory. So look for these yields actually could pop after the Fed. It could pop a couple days after the Fed with options expiration and things like that. So we will pay attention to this in our videos. Dollar dropping off dramatically. VIX actually going up a little bit. So we did come down below that 1212 area we've been talking about. We're seeing that kind of come up, and now we're seeing it hold above 1212 as of this moment. So we'll pay attention to that. The next one, the SPY. The SPY, the biggest thing here is we're outside of every single expected move at this point. Monthly, daily, and weekly, we're outside of all of them. So that just tells us there's a very, very good probability. Maybe not today. You can still stay up here today, but by the end of the week and by the end of the month, we could be back within this range, right? We could be back within the yellow. We could be back within the purple as of Friday. We could be back within the yellow by the end of the month. Qs are reacting from their monthly range a little bit like more as a resistance, right? So we're seeing that hold as resistance. The Qs are now able to break through that. So that can hold as resistance, and you're holding below that daily expected move as well. So by the end of the week, we can see this come back into here. It lands within this purple zone every Friday, 68% of the time. And we do give that to you on Patreon. So if you guys want this for individual stocks, and I think I'm maybe even going to start doing daily expected moves on there as well for the SPY and Qs. Still debating on that though. But if you do have two stocks you would like to suggest for me to add to that list that I'm putting on Patreon, put it in the comments, because I'm going to possibly be adding 2 stocks to that Patreon. Apple, we were talking about if it's able to come above here, or if it's going to confirm this as some kind of head and shoulders. That doesn't seem to be the case as of right now. Now you got some expansion going on here. We're not able to close above that expansion. I would overall just be kind of looking for Apple to pull back and see if it's able to carve out one more push, and then see from there. You could still consider this divergence at this point. You got flatness on the RSI. You have this MACD going a little slanted. So it could be a sign, as you are up at that monthly expected move, to head lower. But I wanted to point out, I gave you the weekly for this week, the weekly expected move on Apple, and it's all the way up towards 200. So Apple could go to 200 before it wants to pull back this week. We'll have to update those Sunday. Amazon, we were overall talking about that area where it's at right now, and we talked about if we do get out of that, look for it to fade even by the end of the week, and it looks like we're getting that fading. But I'd pay attention if this really does close the day above this area. You could see that extended, and then you'd pay attention to the rest of the week, see if we land back in this area, and then go the other way. Amazon's pretty simple. If you do roll over on the hourly MACD, you're going to be right next to that negative territory and really looking like you're going to start that negative trend. Tesla, we were talking about actually a break to the upside and then fading, but Tesla actually broke to the downside right to its weekly expected move. And thank you so much for subscribing. I really do appreciate it. Thank you guys for subscribing and liking the video. But around this area, this is why those weekly expected moves are so powerful. You just know, hey, this is all that's priced in for the week. Sure, you can go outside of it, but 68% of the time you're going to land back up in here. So it's a good place to take some profit off, take some money off of the table and get some profit going, and maybe just take a little bit less on your short from that point on. But we're coming back up, so you see that support come in. We're crossing here on the MACD on the hourly. So if we're able to get into positive territory, I would really look for this upper level of this little range that we got going on to get tested. Kind of the same for Tesla. If people want to continue to get bullish, we're looking, if this does close outside of here, look for it to fade by Friday. That's something that's going to be very telling. NVIDIA, you don't necessarily have, you have this flatness on the MACD, not necessarily a divergence at this point, but we do see that flatness, especially on the RSI. So we could break down from here. And if this is so bullish over the past few days, then why is NVIDIA not fully participating? Why is NVIDIA not cutting above this high when the Qs and SPY are? That's just something to point out. The thing with NVIDIA, the other thing we were paying attention to is the daily, and overall we were just stating, and we've said this for a while, you don't have to be kind of a rocket scientist necessarily to like figure this out, but it's just we're in positive territory. And if you have trouble finding bottoms and you can't get the best price, then you can just say, hey, this MACD is in positive territory. The last time we crossed on this MACD into positive territory, we saw this huge run. So if that's able to happen again, it's a good sign that the whole market and NVIDIA is going to cut this high and make another run. The problem with that is if we actually do start to not cross, because we did have that distance between it, and we start to fade, and that's exactly what is happening right now. We're starting to fade. So really look if this actually does cross, because if it does, it actually gives some good probability that NVIDIA is going to make another extension higher. Is there any stock you guys want to talk about? We could go look at, we looked at AMD in one of our videos. Let's go see what it's doing. AMD is a little different because it actually did participate, right? It took out this high and it's surging higher. The overall thing I was going to look for was that divergence, but we're really just rocketing up into that overbought territory. And so at this point, you have to look at it a little differently, not necessarily be using divergence for some kind of big pullback. You overall just want to say, hey, look how far away it is from its moving averages. It's either going to have to move sideways for these to catch up, right? And then use it to go higher, or it's going to have to dip back down. So it doesn't hurt you at all to take profit off the table when you see it this overbought, and then you wait for it to come and test that 9-day again, and then start to head higher. That's overall what you have to look at when you're looking at a stock that doesn't have divergences, but has seen a big, big run. Oracle, I don't think I've looked at Oracle before. Oh shit. That's really not good. Okay, that's overall that's pretty bad. That's a huge drop off. How much is that drop off? I guess let's just look at this percentage right here. 12%. Oh my goodness. Okay, so with this one, this is more about support and resistance at this point. So we do cover support and resistance in my course. And support and resistance can be difficult, right? Support and resistance can be difficult, but in this case, it's very, very simple. All you have to do here is see this is the low that held you up to extend higher. Does that line up with anything? Well, it actually lines up with a top here. So you could say there is some resistance in this little zone that you want to create for yourself. And then at that point, you just have to say, if this breaks through that low, where's the next point it could go to? The next bundle of price. Okay, so the next bundle of price in here. So somewhere between that 96.60 and 93.50 is where I'd be looking. And then if it dropped lower, you want to look for the next support. And then you can even zoom out and see like where all that support was. And hey, if we zoom out, we see where did all this support line up with? Well, it lined up with a high from previously. So that's overall what I would look for. You did leave behind a gap, but you were really tight on this MACD or on this Bollinger Band, so you just knew a big move was coming. Trying to think if you could have seen this coming. Now this one you could see coming. You see how it's like it's pretty much like a double top. So actually this kind of led you to believe in this. So hopefully you're able to catch that because it's pretty obvious here. You see how steep this is. And overall, what we talk about with these divergences is you need bad news and you need it to get into negative territory for that to actually come to fruition. So yes, it is a good signal, but you need bad news. And so it looks like with that earnings, people didn't like that earnings. So the technicals here called it, got a little double top, and looks like that fully played out. from here, you'd probably do some wedging and things like that. But this one here is just a rollover, and now you're below that 200. So that's a big thing as well. You're below the 200. Kind of a similar thing to what I just said with AMD. This morning, 99.50. Okay. So remember what I just said about AMD. When we do get way outside of those Bollinger Bands, we either want to move sideways or actually come test them, right? So since they're all going to be sitting right around this 50, you actually could see this surge up to about, 109 or something like that, maybe 108.50 to be safe, and see if you're able to hold above that 200. Then you can remain to be bullish. You're most likely going to see the MACD curl over into positive territory, continuing a positive trend. But as of right now, you're closing below the 200. I would just be, if you can take profit early on types of things like this, because you are below the 200, you may just reconnect with these moving averages to then head lower to break down. Now, also, if this is able to recover, right? If this is able to recover and cross on its MACD, it's a good sign that you're going to see that surge. And you do have that double bottom scenario. So you do have the way to create a price target at the double bottom, right? You just want to take the highest point. Kind of just rough estimate here, but we can just do this and say, hey, this could come all the way up to 135 before it sells off. But me being me, I like to take profit where I think there is going to be resistance. So if I was going to go long and that MACD crosses, I'll be looking at this point right up here, and I might even sell a little below it. Look for that 126.50-ish to come in. Good point. And you'd be filling a gap. So that's how I look at these stocks. But you do have that chance of reconnecting with some moving averages before and getting back within these Bollinger Bands. But then you can kind of ride them down. So I'd just be careful if this gets taken out. Let's go see how the SPY's holding up on the 15-minute here. Actually, I'm going to do hourly. I like hourly better. I'm sorry, guys. Someone wants the 1 minute, and I'm like, oof, 1 minute. Thanks for sharing. Yeah, I appreciate you coming in. Really appreciate it. All right, let's see if any. Since we're here for the close, I'm gonna see if any funky business happens with the close. That last 10 minutes here could be the 10-minute rig type deal. This gap actually could be very important for Friday now that I'm looking at it. You see that big gap on the SPY? But my God, is that vertical. Look at that. This looks like Bitcoin. Let me spread this thing out a little bit. That looks better. So yeah, if you guys have any, like I would say a major stock that you would like to see in that Patreon for the weekly ranges, maybe a stock that you pay attention to a lot more often. I know people like NVIDIA, Amazon, Apple, and Tesla pretty well, but maybe I'll add I was thinking about adding IWM, so you get every single one of those. But if you have a stock that you like to pay attention to, like Oracle, things like that, that's a cool one to look at. I love looking at stocks that are completely different than what we're looking at right now, right? We're seeing the SPY and the Qs just kind of rocket. Let's see if the SPYs, because the Qs are looking like they're closing back within that daily range. Let's see if the SPY is able to do that. Nine minutes. Left. And then right after that, I'm going to be working on my video. So look for my video to come out probably an hour and a half after close. But we did just run through every stock, so if you did miss out on us running through these stocks, you can, once this is posted, you can go back and kind of look at it if you'd like. My goodness, those yields are tearing down. See if it's able to hold above that 200. And we're about to test the 200 on TLT. That's a big deal. Now, VIX not having a down day while the market is up. That's something to pay attention to. These Bollinger Bands get tighter and tighter every single day. Thank you so much for subscribing. Really appreciate it. You guys gotta bounce when that thing comes up, you know? Sorry, my stream crashed. That's never happened before, so. I did see like IWM here. This is if the Oracle guy is still here. AMZN. If you see here, we came outside of the Bollinger Band, and then we move sideways to catch up to the 9, and then once we test it, we explode higher. That's overall what I would be talking about when I'm talking about like whether something wants to go higher outside of the Bollinger Band or whether it wants to go lower. It's most likely going to either move sideways or come reconnect with those moving averages to test it before heading higher. IWM surging, hitting my price target. Apple coming up into its monthly expected move here. This is the monthly for Apple for December. That is coming up to the upside of that. It looks like we've left behind a gap. Now, did this fill? Doesn't look like it. What is that? 194.85. No, so this is still open at this point. And this is another example. Apple's a good example. We came out of the Bollinger Band. We immediately reconnect and come to the weekly expected move, but we close back above the 9. We see that strength come back in. All right, let's go to the SPY on the hourly, see if any funky business happens. 6 minutes left. 6 minutes here. Hopefully you guys had a good day. Thanks for your analysis on gold. Yeah, I appreciate it. I mean, I don't pay too much attention to gold anymore. Oh, hold on one sec. That's the old man we have here at the house. He barks at everything. And it'll murder your ears, so. Just too many people have too many different takes on gold, in my opinion. Like, at least from the videos that I would watch, you know, back in the day of creators talking about gold, it pretty much just seems like there's people who say gold, like buy gold all the time, or they're saying gold's going to skyrocket this year. And it really did, actually. It came up pretty good, right? It set that new high, so. Yeah, and so that could be the options expiration problem. With this talk, the people got what they wanted. That's technically already priced in, but it might take that options expiration. What you're pointing out is the fact that if we look at Max Payne, this is Tesla. We don't need Tesla, but we just look at SPY. Why is the SPY surging? Well, it could be because contrarian, right? 2.4 put call ratio right now. You're seeing big puts at 435. Call walls at 469, which is right where we're at right now. So this is your first big call wall that we're running into as of right now, right at 469, so just below us. But it could take options expiration first, and then we see it ripped away. I've seen that happen tons of times, but with the Fed, normally we do see a reaction upward, and then after the Fed, within 48 hours, usually we actually do see us start to turn back around. There'll be a sell-off when no one expects it. Yes, so right when everyone loses all hope, maybe with this Friday's expiration, might be the time where they can start to pull the trigger, because as we're seeing with the we can pull up put call. Actually, we do see puts coming back in to the market as of right now, which will push it up. So maybe people are banking on that, and market makers can take all your money, right? So you got to pay attention to it. This is an hourly on here. Jesus, my dog just farted. Or it could be a genuine rally. If you go and pull up smart money charts, a lot of the buybacks are done now. So a lot of this has been buybacks and things like that. It's looking very unlikely. These are most likely FOMOers. We already got the news, and thank you again for subscribing. We already got the news of a pivot, right? But we already had that priced into the market. That's why this was trickling up. And now that we get that, you're going to see the people who are waiting for that info to go higher. And then this is most likely FOMOers, or, people just not selling at this point, market makers trying to take some more money out of your pocket. And then it's going to be possibly ripped away next week. Now, those are all possibilities. At this point, this is still bullish, right? Because we're on the daily. Sure, we're out of the Bollinger Bands, but we're in positive territory. We touched the 9-day moving average. We're heading higher. So if we do want to remain good, then maybe we just head sideways and wait for that to catch up, right? We need some kind of retest, some kind of lower price in order for buyers to come in again and push it higher. Just what we'll pay attention to overall, we've been talking about how on the weekly, just see if we're fading at the end of the week. First they kill the bears, then they kill the bulls. Yeah, so that's actually the much simpler way to put it. Rupesh, you should be on YouTube. You're explaining things simpler than I am. But yeah, it's right when you get the most frustrated, and then it goes the other way, and you're like, oh, I was right. If I had it for another week, if I had it for another 2 weeks. But even with this green day on Tesla, I just randomly pulled it up. You see how tight the Bollinger Bands are, big moves coming. And we did get that crossing on the MACD. So if this is able to get into negative territory, you're going to probably see this taken out. And we could actually head down to 207.42. Sorry, I just randomly pulled up Tesla. But Amazon's struggling exactly where we kind of expect it to, right? Right in here. If it closes above there, look for that fading at the end of the week. And there's the close. Anything sketch happen? We actually saw more buying into the close on SPY. The Q's not ending the day within the daily expected. Okay, so not ending the day on the daily. We're still just seeing this go up. And this is MACD behavior that I always explain as kind of a guy walking up a cliff, and then eventually he falls. So that's what we'll talk about probably in tonight's video too. All right, guys, thank you so much for joining. If you do want to see some outlook on stocks in this video, then wait till it posts and kind of find the spot where I started talking about every stock that we cover on this channel. I'm going to get working on my YouTube video, but I appreciate you guys hanging out for a bit. Hope you guys had a good day, and I'll see you at the video, all right?